That morning, HOA President Veronica Steinberg rolled up with 3 charter buses crammed full of her rich buddies to fish in my private lake. I watched her $1,000 designer heels sink deep into the mud as she shrieked, "You can't exclude us from community property." The sheer audacity boiled my blood. For 2 years, this entitled woman had tried stealing my family's 60-year legacy with fake surveys, lies, and bully lawyers. Now she was trespassing with 40 strangers, trashing my grandpa's hand-built dock while bus diesel fumes choked the air. But she had no idea I wasn't the pushover she thought. As a retired electrician, I had a few tricks up my sleeve. What happened next? She lost everything. Her status, her friends, her precious HOA throne. Never mess with a man defending his legacy. I'm Marcus Fontaine, 52, and for 30 years I made my living solving electrical problems nobody else could figure out. Complex industrial systems, emergency repairs, the kind of work that teaches patience, precision, and how to outthink people who think they're smarter than you. I sold my contracting business last year and moved back to the family property full-time. 40 acres of paradise with an 8-acre spring-fed lake that's been ours since 1962. My grandfather Frank bought this land when it was scrub brush and a tiny spring, then spent 15 years of weekends hand-digging that lake, laying every dockboard, building everything you see. The sound of gravel crunching under my boots on those same paths is my childhood soundtrack. The smell of pine mixed with clean lake water hits different when you know your grandfather's sweat built it. The rough bark of the old oak where he carved our initials in 1975 still there, and I run my fingers over those grooves remembering his lessons about standing up to bullies. 10 years ago, Willowbrook Estates HOA sprouted around my property like expensive weeds. 47 houses worth $1. $8 million to $1. $2 million, filled with retirees chasing the lakefront lifestyle. My property predates their HOA by decades. I'm not a member, never signed anything, and legally they have zero authority over my land. The lake is completely mine according to every survey that matters. For years, everything was fine. New neighbors waved, complimented the view, asked about fishing. Normal small-town stuff. Then Veronica Steinberg moved in 3 years ago and turned my peaceful retirement into a war zone. Picture this. 58-year-old real estate attorney from California, drives a white BMW she washes obsessively, carries a legal pad like it's a loaded weapon. Within 6 months, she'd bullied her way into HOA presidency. Within a year, she'd terrorized 6 neighbors over garbage cans, fence heights, non-conforming landscaping. This woman could find legal violations in a church picnic. I minded my own business until last spring when she showed up with her predator smile and fake concern. Your lake is creating mosquito breeding conditions that affect our property values. You need to install a $15,000 filtration system immediately to address this community health crisis. I walked her to my property stakes, showed her the surveys, explained that spring-fed lakes don't breed mosquitoes, politely declined her generous offer to spend my money fixing her imaginary problem. Big mistake. The harassment started within 48 hours. Anonymous complaints to county health about stagnant water, mystery inspectors showing up with clipboards and attitudes, diesel stench from her environmental assessment trucks poisoning my morning coffee. When the county inspector finally tested my water, he practically laughed. This is cleaner than most municipal supplies. Whoever's complaining is either ignorant or lying. That's when it clicked. Veronica wasn't concerned about mosquitoes or property values. She wanted something else, and she decided a simple retired electrician would roll over. But electricians troubleshoot for a living. We trace problems back to their source, identify the real issue behind the obvious symptoms, and always have backup plans. Veronica thought she was dealing with some pushover old man. What she was dealing with was someone who'd spent 3 decades outthinking people who underestimated him. Someone who knew how to read schematics, follow paper trails, and wire systems that work exactly like they're supposed to. After 30 years of emergency calls, I'd learned, when someone's trying to electrocute you, don't just fix the immediate problem. Trace it back to the breaker box and shut down their whole system. 2 weeks after that mosquito conversation, Veronica went nuclear. A white county van roared into my driveway, right behind her gleaming BMW. She filed a formal health department complaint claiming my lake was a stagnant breeding ground threatening community wellness. The inspector, Dave, climbed out looking embarrassed. "Mr. Fontaine, I'm sorry about this. Got orders to investigate every complaint. But honestly, this feels like rich people drama." Veronica strutted over in her power suit and designer heels, supervising Dave's every move. For 2 hours, he tested samples, examined the spring, waded knee-deep to check source points. Verdict: pristine water. Veronica's face went redder than a stop sign. "That's impossible. I demand a second opinion." Dave packed slowly. "Ma'am, I've been doing this 23 years. This lake is pristine." That afternoon brought round two. A certified letter claiming my property violated mysterious watershed protection agreements I never signed because they never existed. The legal language was dense, full of phrases like community environmental obligations and collective resource management. When someone throws technical jargon at you to justify nonsense, they're usually hiding a fundamental flaw. So I traced the problem back to its source. 3 hours in county databases revealed Veronica's dirty secret. Her California bar license under disciplinary review for deliberate misrepresentation of property rights. She had a history of bending legal facts. Time for my counterattack. I installed professional security cameras with night vision and motion sensors backing up to cloud storage. If she played games on my property, every move would be recorded. I replaced polite private property signs with legal notices citing state statutes, trespassing penalties up to $5,000 plus damages, false complaint penalties up to $50,000 plus attorney fees. 3 days later, Dave called. "Marcus, thought you should know. Steinberg tried to slip me $2,000 to alter my water quality report. Offered it as a consulting fee. Bribery of a government official carries 5 years federal prison." He'd reported it. Internal Affairs was building a case. "Watch your back," he warned. That evening on the dock, watching sunset paint the water gold and crimson, I realized this wasn't about mosquitoes. Veronica wanted something specific and had crossed into criminal territory. I pulled property records, tax assessments, sales data. Every home within a mile had jumped 40% in value. Realtors advertising spring-fed, lake proximity, and exclusive fishing access. Veronica's records showed her drowning in debt. Second mortgage, maxed equity line, leveraged at 95%. If she established community access rights, every property would jump another 20% overnight. Her over-leveraged investment would look genius. My grandfather's legacy was worth millions to her. Veronica's next attack came disguised as community service, an emergency neighborhood meeting about shared water resources at the clubhouse. I wasn't invited, but neighbor Dorothy Lennox called, furious. I arrived to find 40-plus residents packed in. Veronica commanded center stage with PowerPoint, fake historical documents, legal jargon. She claimed the lake had been enjoyed by area residents since the 1940s, showed a 1955 community fishing access agreement, but it mentioned environmental impact assessments, a term for 1970, photocopied signatures, artificially aged paper. Amateur fraud. I stood up. "Excuse me, Veronica, but I'd like to address these fascinating historical discoveries." Her face went white. I connected my phone to her projector. Original 1962 survey, authenticated construction photos, Dorothy's 40-year photo collection showing no community use. I dismantled her forgeries. Environmental studies not coined until 1969, GPS not civilian until 1983, grandfather's signature trace from his deed. Silence. Dorothy stood. "I moved here in 1963. Never saw anyone use it besides the Fontaines. 8 residents switched sides. I had recorded everything. Her fraud captured. She threatened an injunction." I smiled. "Please do. Present your evidence to a real judge." But she filed anyway. A preliminary injunction demanding I stop excluding community members until boundary dispute resolved, citing forged documents. Then she escalated. bringing wealthy friends to fish without permission, trying to create adverse possession evidence. Open use for years without objection can claim ownership. I documented every trespass, written notices, photos, 15-minute vacate warnings. Motion-activated sprinklers drenched them. My surveyor, Jennifer Walsh, proved their corrected survey physically impossible. Digging deeper at the county clerks, I caught Veronica researching ownership histories, tax data. Her notes: market value $3, $2 million, for sale, target $1, $8 million, luxury subdivision potential. She was planning to crash my value 60% through litigation, force a sale, flip for profit, $450,000 plus for her, to escape $387,000 tax liens, bar hearings, asset seizure threats. She wasn't greedy. She was desperate, a criminal with a pattern of targeting elderly owners. I assembled a team: Dorothy with decades of documentation, her grandson Tommy, drone pilot, journalist Jake Morrison tracking similar fraud, attorney Sarah Blackwood specializing in real estate scammers. We built evidence, drone footage, cameras, pattern research. I hosted a Veterans Memorial Fishing Tournament during the HOA annual meeting, posted massive legal warnings, invited media. Veronica couldn't resist, brought 3 buses, 50-plus people for community tradition. They picnicked, fished, gave tours for buyers. Detective Ray Kowalski, fraud unit, witnessed her unlicensed real estate pitch, recorded her admitting the harassment was to force a sale. She confessed on camera. Her final plays: character assassination flyers calling me unstable veteran with PTSD, fake reports to VA, rumors to clients. Then bribery attempt, $25,000 to commissioner, wire by FBI, for eminent domain, psychiatric hold, seizure. At HOA meeting, she presented fake psychiatrist, her brother-in-law, charts of my danger. I hijacked her presentation: tax liens, bar record, harassment timeline, bribery audio. FBI arrested her on stage: bribery, conspiracy, fraud, wire fraud. She pleaded guilty to 14 federal charges, 10 years prison, $847,000 fines/restitution, disbarred. Assets seized. Her co-conspirators lost licenses, faced bankruptcy. Community apologized, elected Dorothy president, past protections. My property values soared. We created veterans' therapeutic fishing program, conservation scholarships, festivals. Neighbors healed, stopped by with stories and cookies. On quiet mornings, I sit on Grandpa's dock, sunrise painting the water, listening to laughter and splashing. Peace restored. Veronica thought she hunted a helpless old man. She walked into the crosshairs of someone who knows justice, like electricity, always finds its way to the truth. What would you do if someone tried stealing your family's legacy? Share your worst HOA nightmare below.